Oh, please don't let this be the last 2D Metroid game I get to review. Nintendo does like making Metroid games about as much as the cat likes drowning in sulfuric acid. Make me regret the drowning cat joke, Nintendo! Well, let's just hope that the next one isn't another decade and a half wait. Now it's been 2 decades, can we please get a Metroid 5? And it revitalized the franchise and prepared it for more great games to come. Right, Nintendo? Please? But if you're still holding out hope that Nintendo hasn't forgotten about Metroid 5, don't say it. Then you're just playing with yourself.
Then you're just playing with yourself.
5. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! It's Metroid 5! Oh my god! What's happening? Metro! Oh my god! What the hell? What the hell? It's real! Metroid Dread is real! Oh my god! How long has it been? How long has this been? Oh my god! After nearly 20 years of silence, Metroid 5 is finally a reality. And not only is it Metroid 5, the story arc finale that originated on the NES and was last seen on the Game Boy Advance, but it's Metroid Dread. The fabled lost DS game from 2005, trapped in development hell and cursed to never see the light of day until now. This game's sheer existence is truly historic, and the best part is, not only are gamers finally appreciating Metroid after decades of it laying dormant, but so is Nintendo. This is the first Metroid game to ever get nearly this much media attention, promotional material, and advertising as Nintendo's front and center full-blown holiday title. Not to mention its enormous critical success, as it gets showered in nearly perfect scores across the board. The game has and continues to top the charts in video game sales in nearly all markets like Amazon, retailers, and even the Nintendo eShop all around the world. This isn't just Metroid 5. It's not just Metroid Dread. This is a massive resurgence where millions of new fans are discovering the true king of the genre for the very first time. Metroid is finally back, and it's here to stay. And I get to play it? Metroid Dread is a real video game that you can play with your real fingers and eyeballs.
I think I'm gonna cry.
You just might, it's actually pretty terrifying. Wait, what? I can't even believe I get to say this. Metroid Dread is a 2D action platformer about exploration, finding and procuring power-ups, and using those new abilities to access new environments and challenge various bosses. Yeah, it's called Metroidvania for a reason. Mercury Steam, the team behind Samus Returns, is back for Dread, taking a lot of their knowledge from the previous Metroid title and refining it into a highly polished, action-packed epic experience. The melee counter is back, but with a huge upgrade. Gone are the days of stopping, waiting, and countering everything. Now you can counter while running, jumping, and even sliding, and enemies are also far more tenacious, making counters much more difficult, preventing the mechanic from affecting the game's pace while adding a ton of satisfying, seamless action. The Aeon Gauge also makes its return from Samus Returns, and with its own quirks ironed out, now your Aeon charges its own kinetic energy as Samus moves, so you don't have to grind to fill it up anymore. Also, the new Aeon abilities you get this time are just amazing. Samus can temporarily go invisible with the new Phantom Cloak, allowing her to avoid the detection of the game's many terrifying pursuing enemy units. Even if Samus depletes her Aeon Gauge, she can still remain invisible at the cost of her own draining HP. She can even move while invisible, however, at the cost of even more Aeon or HP. But it can be a lifesaver and definitely adds a tremendous amount of tension when escaping an enemy. Shelving the enemy for now, her second ability is the Flash Shift, allowing Samus to teleport in up to 3 short burst dashes horizontally. Not only is this incredibly useful in both combat as well as exploration, my requirements for a great Metroidvania ability, but it's also super fun to use. Seriously, you just feel amazing whenever you just blink around the room. And lastly, Samus's scan ability, the Pulse Radar, makes a return, but with a nifty time-saving overhaul. Since there's no need to worry about running out of Aeon anymore, Samus can quickly scan areas and easily uncover the path forward, as well as hunt down any elusive missile and health expansions. Speaking of which, missiles and energy tanks both got quite a creative overhaul. Now, missile tanks can be found in either packs of 2 or 10. This way, the larger packs can be hidden in more creative and challenging ways, and the easy 2 packs can be scattered all over the map in countless hiding spots, so you're always getting stronger. Even the energy tanks were all restructured. Instead of finding extra reserve tanks that filled your health upon death and kinda killed the pace of the fight you were in, you can now find energy parts as well as the usual energy tanks. When you find 4 energy parts, you'll assemble a whole energy tank. It's an amazing way to hide even more goodies and have players working towards something without really changing much at all. Even the space jump got this treatment with the new spin boost, an in-between upgrade where Samus can effectively double jump before getting the full-blown space jump ability. I really like this idea of slowly allowing the player to grow stronger and find new abilities with the promise of even more to come later down the line. Samus also gets the spider magnet, allowing her to climb along walls and ceilings, ride conveyors, and even shoot while doing so. It's a fixed climbing ability from Fusion without the weird monkey bar logic, and a fixed spider ball that doesn't slow down the pace one bit. It's great. There's also a lot of quality of life improvements, like how Samus just starts with the power grip and gets a dedicated button for the grapple beam. Her diffusion beam can now blast through walls. She doesn't even need to jump over raised ground, but instead will automatically and acrobatically keep running over it. And the morph ball and spring ball get combined so you can jump in morph ball form right away. There's also the modified Seeker missile from Prime 2, now dubbed the Storm Missile, allowing Samus to charge a burst of 3 mini missiles that can simultaneously auto-aim at up to 5 targets. It's an amazingly satisfying tool for boss fights and accessing specific puzzles. There's also a new charge upgrade for the Morph Ball bombs called the Cross Bomb, a Bomberman-style cross explosion that not only knocks out extra blocks, but also propels Samus from the direction of the blast. And of course, you can once again free aim in any direction. But this time you can also control your aim a little while you run with precise movements of the analog stick. I cannot stress enough that Samus has never felt this good to control. She's so versatile this time that a lot of the game's speed booster and shine spark puzzles are pretty daunting until you get a good grasp on what to do and how fluidly Samus moves. You'll be shocked at what kind of crazy stuff she can pull off this time. Like quick killing bosses? Kraid can be defeated incredibly easily if you manage to get the Morph Ball bombs early and blast into his insides and end him right away. There's also a later boss that can be shine sparked into and defeated instantly. It's like Super Metroid's secret boss takedowns all over again, and I love it! You can even counter those bosses at precise moments in order to attack mid-cutscene and watch as you utterly annihilate them in full-blown cinematic fashion. Sure, you feel like an unstoppable space bounty hunter acrobatically and effortlessly destroying everything in your path. But remember, this is Metroid Dread, and throughout nearly half of every map in the game, you'll be trespassing into an Emmy zone, where you'll be hunted down by a terrifying cybernetic killing machine. Emmy zones are large and horrifying. If you thought the SAX was scary from Fusion, try a real AI actively roaming the same map you are, constantly listening and following the sounds of your footsteps, taking shortcuts and absolutely gunning for you with full force when it does spot you, locking off the escape hatches until you manage to dodge its pursuit or die in its clutches. If you're ever caught by an Emmy, you'll get a fraction of a second to attempt to counter its fatal attack. If you manage it, you'll get another chance to escape. But if you whiff, it's game over. And get used to seeing that screen a lot in this game, because the Emmy will get you. It's only a matter of time. However, unlike past Metroid titles, there's a generous checkpoint system, so dying to an Emmy or a boss isn't so bad, even if you've been neglecting saving. It's just encouraging enough to keep you trying until you do succeed, instead of forcing you back to a save point and taking away whatever upgrades you found along the way to your death. You can, however, defeat an Emmy by finding its central unit hidden deep in the Emmy zone. You'll challenge a Mother Brain style mini-boss, complete with Rinkas from the original game, and absorb its weird blue magical juice, temporarily upgrading your arm cannon into an overpowered laser cannon capable of blowing up even an Emmy, otherwise impervious to all attacks. But even with this ridiculously strong upgrade, you'll still need to lure the Emmy into a long enough straightaway to properly overheat their faceplate with rapid shots before charging up a full blast to destroy the head. The camera even shifts to a third-person shot during these moments, making these final bursts of revenge all the more satisfying. Now, without spoiling anything specific, the bosses in this game are all amazing thrill rides. Each one shakes up the fight with various phases in line with the series' best, where it's not as simple as just shooting them until they die. You need to figure them out to survive, especially when the game starts throwing multiples of previous bosses your way, forcing you to adapt and showcase your new strength. A lot of players might find the massive open maps to be a little daunting, and to that I've got to say the beginning of this game does a great job at keeping things linear, while still making the player believe that what they're doing is exploring themselves. And once they've demonstrated that they can understand the basics of item acquisition and exploration, the game lets go and allows for all sorts of possibilities for how the player can proceed. You've also got access to teleporters coming back from Samus Returns. However, thankfully nerfed this time, where colored teleporters can only transport you to the other matching teleporter on another map. It's more like a shortcut mechanic rather than the arguably broken fast travel mechanic. I think it adds a tremendous amount to the game in this fixed format. There's also a lot of other really cool stuff we'd rather not spoil here, but what we can say is you once again can unlock gallery content in the main menu after getting 100% item completion, as well as beating the game fast enough for both difficulties. And fortunately, once you unlock a gallery image, your save file permanently has it unlocked, so you can focus your subsequent runs on aiming for different endings without worrying about the other stipulations like getting 100% items again. There's so much here that's learned so much from the past and found new innovative and effective ways to keep the gameplay familiar but also fresh and challenging that it's not an understatement in the slightest to say that this is possibly the greatest Metroid gameplay we've ever seen. And that's saying a lot. Considering the last game was on Game Boy Advance, you could say that jumping to full HD graphics was a bit of a huge deal. It's been 19 years, Bomb. Aside from this being the first HD Metroid, running at a smooth 60 frames per second, the actual aesthetics they went for with this game is just incredible. Samus, the creatures, all the beautifully animated environments all look so real and well illustrated. Everything is so well refined that pretty much any random screenshot looks like a work of art. Samus's new suit designs are amazing. The Emmy and new bosses are incredible and welcome additions to the world of Metroid. Even the background creatures and plant life all lend the notion that this is a fully living ecosystem existing in this universe. Most importantly, this game looks and feels like an authentic Metroid game, even after a 19-year absence. So yeah, this is probably the best looking Metroid game we've ever seen. And that is also saying a lot. Now this is gonna be a dicey section since we highly encourage you to play the game yourself. If you want to go in totally blind, then here's your spoiler skip timestamp. But before playing the game, I'd still highly encourage either playing the first 4 entries or familiarizing yourself with our reviews of Metroid 1 on the NES, Metroid 2 Samus Returns for the 3DS, Metroid 3 Super for the SNES, and Metroid 4 Fusion for the GBA's shameless plug to the 4th power. The Galactic Federation receives anonymous video footage depicting a living X-parasite originating from the planet ZDR. After dispatching 7 Emmy units to the planet in order to validate the footage, they all mysteriously go offline. With no other choice, Samus is called in to investigate the X and rogue Emmys. Soon after arriving on ZDR, Samus takes a long elevator down to the depths of the planet, temporarily losing contact with Adam, her AI companion, acting as her liaison between her and the Galactic Federation. It's here where Samus gets ambushed by a living Chozo warrior, whose unrivaled skill and firepower quickly gets the better of her, and she blacks out right before her imminent doom and wakes up alone in her power suit, devoid of nearly all of her upgrades. Samus soon comes across various navigation rooms on ZDR that allow her to communicate with Adam, who provides a cold and analytical view of the situation, and advice for Samus's best chances for survival. Luckily this time Adam is much less of a burden, no longer locking off the player from exploring, and no longer blatantly telling Samus where to go. While exploring ZDR, Samus meets the benevolent Chozo scientist Quiet Robe, who just after saving the bounty hunter from being killed by an Emmy, kinda drops an info bomb. Quiet Robe reveals that the Chozo warrior from earlier is known as Ravenbeak, the commander of the Malkin tribe, whereas Quiet Robe is of the Thoha tribe from SR-388, who was responsible for creating the Metroids in order to exterminate the X-parasites that infested the planet. Ravenbeak led an army of Malkin to SR-388 and slaughtered the Thoha, sparing only Quiet Robe as his lead scientist in order to control the Metroids and create a powerful enough army to conquer the galaxy. Well, that was his plan until Samus kinda did that whole alien genocide thing. After returning to ZDR, Ravenbeak discovered that one of his own Chozo warriors was actually an X-parasite in disguise. He quickly quarantined the impending outbreak and schemed how he could use the X to lure Samus to ZDR, as after she was infected with an X herself, she became the sole living possessor of Metroid DNA in the galaxy. Ravenbeak then overpowered and hacked the Emmy sent by the Galactic Federation, reprogramming them to mercilessly hunt down Samus and extract her Metroid DNA, which I totally called as the Emmy's directive pre-launch, by the way. Almost immediately after opening the path forward for Samus, Quiet Robe is backstabbed by a robot Chozo soldier and dies. Samus is left alone to fight off the cybernetic Chozo warriors, hunting her down and find a way to end Ravenbeak's scheme herself. But her investigation leads her to Ellen, the very place where Ravenbeak quarantined the X-parasites, which then immediately escape and infect every living thing on the entire planet. Yeah, this planet's getting blown up. Can we just stop and acknowledge that the developers had to create the entire world of ZDR, some areas even changing their climates multiple times throughout the game, and then change every single enemy's mechanics, looks, and fighting capabilities to faithfully bring back the X-parasites from fusion across the entire map? This planet is so getting blown up. And X even possesses the corpse of Quiet Robe, which then reactivates the final Emmy that nearly killed Samus earlier. However, when she finally confronts it, she unleashes a strange new power by violently grabbing its head and sucking its energy dry. You thought you had one last Emmy to deal with, but little did you realize that Samus was getting so strong that she could literally toss it aside like it was nothing. In terms of gameplay, this could be a little disappointing, but for the sake of the narrative subversion showcasing what's happening to Samus, I find this move to be totally worth it. Adam reveals that this ability originates from Samus fully awakening her dormant Metroid DNA and truly becoming the physical embodiment of the last Metroid. That, and alongside her Chozo DNA, the Thoha genes help her keep the Metroid side in check, and the Malkin genes giving her astounding physical prowess. However, when she storms Ravenbeak's mothership, Itarash, it becomes clear that this awakening was Ravenbeak's plan all along, in order to manipulate Samus's dormant DNA in order to turn her into the ultimate warrior, and after killing her, use her genes to clone her into an unstoppable army, as she's since become even more powerful than any single Metroid has ever become before. It also becomes clear that the navigation rooms were in fact not linking Samus to Adam, but Ravenbeak posing as the AI in order to subject Samus to the maximum amount of stress and challenge on planet ZDR in order to instigate this awakening. I am getting so many Metal Gear Solid vibes. Samus then faces off against the insanely overpowered Chozo warrior, but inevitably fails to match his strength. As it looks like the last light is about to fade from Samus, she lets out a furious rage, smashing her hand into Ravenbeak's face, sucking his alongside the entire ship's energy in one violent clash, transforming her living suit in the process. Now fully awakened, Samus's living suit has become the Metroid suit, and gets an immediate chance to try out its full power, as Ravenbeak shambles out of the wreckage of his fallen warship. An X-parasite surprises him from the back and transforms him into a massive amalgamation of all the past bosses on ZDR in a final effort to kill Samus, who utterly annihilates him and the X with one ludicrously huge blast of energy. So, of course, the planet is set to explode, leaving Samus little time to escape the wreckage and make it back to her ship on time. And by the way, this is your beam now! Oh my god, it's like the ending to Super Metroid all over again, except somehow even more epic and overpowered! But before she activates her ship, Adam warns Samus that by touching the controls, she'd siphon the ship of its energy. Then the X-infected body of Quiet Robe slowly emerges from the shadows behind her, yet somehow overcomes its mind control and submits to Samus, allowing her to absorb him, reverting her suit back to normal just in time for her to escape the planet's detonation. So just to recap, Samus is part Metroid, part Thoha Chozo scientist to control Metroids, part Malkin Chozo for supernatural physical strength and reflexes, and now part sentient parasitic alien bird corpse? Is there any room left in there for part human anymore? I kinda think that's the point. Also, during the final confrontation, Ravenbeak reveals that he was actually the DNA donor for Samus's Malkin DNA, referring to her as his daughter. However, this only makes Samus's retaliation against this assertive conquest all the more personal. So yeah, Yoshio Sakamoto really meant it when he said that Dread is the ending of the 5-game story arc he'd been working on since the NES. It's a slow spiral of Samus slowly understanding and eventually becoming the very thing she set out to destroy. But where could the series possibly go from here? I don't know, but if the next game starts with Samus locked away in a Galactic Federation prison, they better lead with, "The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy..." No! Metroid always has killer soundtracks. But did nearly 20 years of separation from the last games and this fresh new talent cause any departure in quality from what we've grown to expect from Metroid? Nope. Yeah, no, not at all. Each environmental and battle theme carries its own feeling and weight of the situation. There's so many great tracks and instant classics that I've been listening to this entire OST on loop for days now, and it's still just as great as when I heard it the first time. I especially love that Kraid's theme is a reimagination of the mini-boss theme from Super Metroid that plays during his confrontation. Ridley ended up stealing the main boss theme for himself in all the other games, so it's only fair that Kraid snags what was rightfully his as well. And as for the rare moments of voice acting, I gotta admit, I was really scared of how the game would handle this, but it's all done so perfectly that all my worries were fortunately over nothing. Adam sounds frighteningly cold and mechanical, adding to the loneliness that already permeates the game. And the other voices in the game are also well performed and all in the newly invented Chozo spoken language, further adding to this eerie authenticity. Plus all the new sound effects are extra clean, missiles are extra crunchy, beams are extra pew-pewy, and all the background environmental roars and screeches just sound so atmospheric. And if you want to talk about musical dominance, just walk into an Emmy room and let the music alone send a chill up your spine before it gets impaled. Oh look, yet another section where we basically admit that Dread is like all Metroid games past, but even better. Do you see where this is going? Are we really doing this? I think we're doing this! My favorite video game I've ever played is Super Metroid. So what am I supposed to say now that this game comes along and straight up does everything Super Metroid does, but better? This game truly looks, sounds, and plays like a passion project that had 19 years to focus and refine its ideas and design framework. When do we even get the chance to see a game with nearly 2 decades of care and attention put into it? What should we expect next? Mother 4? With so many Metroidvania games releasing nowadays, it's surprising to see one stand apart as vastly superior to the general lot of indie imitators. There truly is only one Metroid. This isn't just a single video game, it's a landmark in gaming history. This is the conclusion of possibly the longest running canon in the entire medium, beginning with the NES Classic in 1986, and the bonuses in the special edition don't let you forget it. Did we even mention that all the music is directed by Kenji Yamamoto, the same guy who's been behind the series' melodies since Super Metroid? How about the fact that you can see Samus's facial expressions through her visor at various points in the game, driving home the emotion of the scenes with minimal dialogue? Or the fact that the intro cinematics catch you up to speed on everything you need to know to fully grasp the story with HD recreations of original artwork from the past games? Or that Samus has some of the most character-defining cutscenes she's ever had, showcasing her unstoppable, silent, and defiant attitude in fully interactive cutscenes where you can counter and lay waste to her enemies as the action unfolds? I honestly think this might be the best Metroid game ever made! Yeah. The positive gamer in me had such high hopes going into Metroid Dread. Yet somehow, even those lofty expectations were shattered with this undeniable 10 out of 10 experience. From beginning to end, I was fully engrossed in the hypnotic pseudo-horror action exploration adventure as I ventured to escape planet ZDR. Dread is an easy recommendation and an absolute must-buy for fans of the Metroidvania genre. The critical gamer in me is struggling to not only accept that Metroid Dread exists, but that it's also as impressively finely tuned as it is, evolving it up to a 10 out of 10. Take it from someone who plays a lot of Metroid games and can find faults in nearly all of them. This game is phenomenal. Rarely do we see landmark mainline entries that end up being anywhere near this level. Zelda got its Breath of the Wild, Mario got his Odyssey, and Metroid got its fifth game. That didn't come out right at all, did it? Well, not quite. But what do you think? Is Metroid Dread really one of the best Metroid games ever made? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Metroid Dread in the comments below. But if you're under the misguided delusion that this game somehow isn't worth $60, then you should probably stop making a fool of yourself on the internet, 'cause you're just playing with yourself. Buy Metroid Dread. Jeez, look at the size of this frickin' thing. Anyway, special thanks this week go to Kim for making our whiteboard art of this adorable Emmy playing with a butterfly before I guess it impales it and steals its DNA or something like that. Of course, we're gonna be going right back to more of the Patreon request episodes. This time I was a little distracted, so promise we'll get right back to those in the next one. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more, and use the links in the description to nominate your own episode. And thank you to our Patreon members, Atomic Thomas, Cameron, Arrow, Rowan, Erica, Shyam, Minya, Sid, Squad Fam, and Crystal. Booyah!